to All Cohort Call 4. So these are our goals for today. So we're going to practice thoughtful inquiry. So asking each other deep questions and asking maybe some hypothetical made up people some questions. And two, we're going to practice empathy with diverse stakeholders. So it's really important as we move through our project to try to understand the experiences and the feelings of all of the different people that we're working with across our projects. So we're going to kind of do a little practice with that today. This is our agenda. We're going to start off with an icebreaker, and then we're going to do a stakeholder case study. We'll talk about our next steps, and then we will have workshop time. So today, you'll have a little bit of freedom, so you can choose what groups that you want to connect with today. All right. Any questions before we jump into our icebreaker? No? Okay. We have a small group today. You should text your teammates and be like, "Where are you?" Make sure we have everyone in the room. Okay. So I'm going to pass it to Leslie to talk about our icebreaker today.
Yeah, so today we're going to do something called 3 Things in Common. And as the name suggests, we're going to put you in breakout rooms and you're going to find 3 things in common that you have with whoever's in your group. And we want you to think about something that might not be, super common. So like the first statement says, we came from the same country. And you see there's a thumbs down because that's level 1. That's pretty basic. We want you to come up with something a little different and unique to your group. So maybe something like, we love to drink 2 cups of coffee per day, 1 cup in the morning and another cup after lunch. That's not something everyone can say, so that would be a good example of something more unique to your group. And then once we come back, we will debrief and talk about what you guys came up with. So let's do it.
So we're going to talk about stakeholder maps for a little bit. We know you had a bit of practice on the launch pad already. But before we begin on our case study, just want to take a moment so we can all review what a stakeholder is. So I'm just going to ask the group, what is a stakeholder? How would you define it? So you can feel free to unmute yourself to answer this question or put your thoughts in the chat about what a stakeholder is. Nice listen. It is a stakeholder for sure. We were talking about food earlier.
Thanks, Leslie.
We will acknowledge that it was a group effort between Hannah and Leslie. See, Prey said people who are going to be involved in and have thoughts. Yeah, I think involved in your project for sure. Anyone who's involved. See, you have anyone in your project that creates an impact on, or anyone who can impact your project. I love that. It's kind of like this reciprocation, like there's influence on others, but there's also influence on you. Elin said stakeholders, any person or group that has an interest or is affected by a project, decision, or company. A stakeholder is a person or things that involve as parts to implement. I'm glad you're writing so much. Seeing in the chat, implement projects to meet the goals. A person or party with an interest in something. Yeah, I agree with all of those statements. So stakeholders are any individual, group, person. You can even say like even something like plants or the environment that have an impact on your project or are involved in your project, any of that. So awesome. Thanks for teaching me. Okay, so now that we defined a stakeholder, we're going to move into a case study, and we're going to use VIA as an example. Okay. Thanks, Yuki, for sharing the screen. Okay, so you all worked on your own stakeholder maps on the Launchpad, and thank you so much for everyone for doing that too. Just want to acknowledge it. It's not an easy task and it requires a lot of thought. So just want to thank you for doing all of the work this week. And as you may have noticed, there are many types of stakeholder maps that you may have saw. Today, we're going to focus on the interest power map, which looks a little bit like this. So we picked this one today just because it's not commonly chosen. And we wanted to give you some experience and exposure working with it. So in the interest power map, it asks you to organize your stakeholders into using two categories. So one is how much interest they have, meaning how much do they care about the issue and how much are they invested in its outcome. And then the second component is power. So that's the degree in which they can control the situation and the outcome. Power can mean a lot of different things. It could be like relational power, it could be formal power, it could be financial power. So it can be defined differently. So we're going to take an example with VIA, and we're going to say VIA needs to make more money. And so the boss decides to run 10 more programs without increasing any staff. So you can see it on the top. For this example, we're going to use three stakeholders. One is Kazuto, who's the boss of VIA. And then we have Yuki, who's a program director. And then we're also going to use me, which I'm alumni of the program. So today we're just going to use it as an example, and we're going to make some guesses. But we'll go through each stakeholder and place them on this power interest map. So for example, Kazuto, he likely has high interest because he's responsible for VIA's financial sustainability and is also in charge of like motivating his staff. And he also probably has high power because he's the executive director of VIA. So kind of by definition, he has a lot of power in VIA. And then I'm going to ask for some help for Yuki, who's a program director. Where do you think we would put Yuki on this map?
High power and high interest.
You said high power, high interest?
Yes,
Yeah. And why would you say that?
because she is the program director, so she has that power how to manage the program, and I believe she has the high interest on that. Because she
Yeah,
has to complete the goal and manage the goal and manage the team and as well. That's fine.
yeah, I definitely agree. And would you say it's like the same as Kazuto, or would you say it's different than Kazuto?
Not very the same, but not very different, but it's almost the same, I guess. You see.
So similar, but maybe just a little different because
yeah.
Yeah. So maybe like because Yuki's a director and she might have like a little less power than Kazuto, but still really high power. Yeah. Awesome. Okay, what about me as an alumni? Where would you place me on the stakeholder map?
Yes, low power and high interest.
Low power, high interest. And why would you say that?
Because she is the alumni of the program, and because she's not the very high level of the management. That's why she has the low power, and she is also the she was the participant of the program, and I think she has the interest on that. And also she carries continue to work there and in the future, she might have high power because she and high interest level. But now, as she is just the alumni of the program, she has just low power but high interest.
So higher interest, lower power, but maybe not
Yeah.
not as high as Yuki and Kazu. Am I understanding that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Yeah. So it's different, right? So as an alumni, I care about the organization, care about VIA, don't have as much power because I don't work for VIA. Yeah, fantastic. Also, shout out to Pansakai. Thanks for being so brave and like, yeah, sharing your thoughts. Okay. So that's the first step, is kind of identifying the stakeholders. Then we can move to the second step, which is to kind of like think about what each stakeholder's values or worries or needs are. Because Yuki's on the call with us, we're just going to use Yuki as an example, if that's okay with Yuki. Okay, awesome. Okay, so we can just brainstorm on thoughts. It doesn't have to be perfect if Yuki's not here, but because Yuki is here, we can ask her what her thoughts and concerns about this initiative is. So Yuki, do you mind sharing a little bit about your thoughts?
Yes, I'm very happy to. This is a semi-hypothetical situation because my boss is always trying to make me do more work and run more programs and not hire any people. So this is kind of true. While I speak, I think Carrie's going to share some notes. So I recognize that I'm going to really be impacted by whatever my boss decides to do. And it's really important to me that my colleagues, my coworkers, and I have a reasonable workload. We're not, just working like crazy. So what I think I would do is I would have a meeting with Kazuto to set really clear expectations for, how my workload is going to change, and what resources, what support he can give me, so that I can be successful, given the new, the new situation. I think I would also brainstorm how I could replicate some of the other programs that I've run. So I can run a lot of new programs, but not put in too much extra work. And lastly, I think I would reach out to our volunteer community. So maybe reach out to someone like Carrie to see how they could support our program portfolio since it's expanding. Since Carrie is someone who already has experience with VIA and our programs, she might be able to jump in and help us run more programs without too much more training. How did I do?
Great. I'm just going to make sure that I heard everything and then check if you wanted to add anything, Yuki. So you
Sure.
said you would be heavily impacted by this decision. So you would one of your concerns is to make sure that you have a reasonable workload, and you would like to clarify some expectations with Kazuto, what this would involve of you of your colleagues. You also would try to brainstorm how to replicate programs, and also reach out to different volunteer communities and maybe alumni to see how they could also provide some support.
Yes. I feel so heard, Carrie. Oh, thank you so much. Yes, that's exactly what I'm feeling and thinking.
Awesome. Okay. So that was our case study. So step one was just identifying the stakeholders and then trying to place them where you think they would be on this power interest map. And then the second part was just reflecting on what their position on whatever scenario it is and what their concerns, values, and feelings are. Yeah, and that is our case studies. Before we go on to our break though, just wanted to open the space if anyone had any thoughts or questions on this activity. Or coffee. Coffee is also accepted. Oh yes, please too.
Yes, for those people who have low power and low interest, should we let them involve in the project also, or should we let them omit? Yeah, so I am not so clear about this one. Could you share it?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. I'm actually wanted to open it up to the group, see if there's any thoughts. Should people with low power and low interest be involved?
Hi, this is Julia. I think involving the low power, low interest influence on the map would help us see people differently with their different influences, different decision making power, or different involvement in the project. So I don't know. I feel like, let's say like we have a closed cycle, a bubble of our like people who we need closer, we need to have active communication with. Low power, low interest people, we still need to have a communication with them occasionally, I guess, not on every level of um, doing the project or running the business. So I think, okay, so on point, I'm still like, talking a lot already. So in short, I think it would be useful to put low power, low interest people on the map just to know where they are and make clear decision and communication. Thank you.
I want to also share my example. Yeah, in our stakeholder mapping, we add the media groups as a stakeholders to in implementing our project. But I think they have the low power and low interest in our project. But if they don't have as a stakeholder in our project cannot reach as much as possible, because media group is also important, but they have low power and low interest. But they are also a stakeholder and important for our projects. Yeah, I want to give an example.
I'm loving all of these thoughts. Does anyone else have anything to add on that question? Also, thank you for like asking that question, Prisu. It's a really good one. Well, with that, if you think of anything, feel free to put in the chat. But I think, are you ready for a short break? Okay, so we'll come back in 10 minutes. Go ahead, grab coffee, water, bathroom.
There's that. Okay, back to the call. You guys probably thought I was just talking. Surprise, I'm facilitating the next part of the call. Okay. Welcome back, everyone. Now that you're awake and I've told you a potato story, we're going to do an activity. Yuki, would you so kindly share your screen, please? Thank you so much. Okay. So Yuki's going to share her screen, and what we're going to do for the rest of the call is a small group activity. I'm going to go over the goals, and we're going to talk about the activity a little bit together. Then you're going to go into breakout rooms with a fellow and kind of work on part of the activity as a small group, and then we'll come back together in the big room to discuss. Okay, great. It is possible that this activity will be a little confusing, and it is possible that it will not be confusing at all. But if you are having any questions, please ask in the chat, or you can unmute yourself. Okay. Okay. So our goals for the activity are to practice using stakeholder maps, which I think many of you already did for your own projects, but we're going to do it with an example as a group, and talk about different perspectives on how we might place our stakeholders on the map, like we just did together using the example of VIA. Okay. So it's important to know as we do this activity that it is okay if not everybody in the small group that you are in agrees on what your where your stakeholder is placed. Okay, it's more important that we're talking about it than that we all agree on where it goes necessarily. So a second goal is that we're going to identify missing stakeholders. This is an important question to ask yourselves as you work on your own projects. Another way to phrase it is who isn't part of the conversation, but maybe should be. So that will be something we work on together before we go into our small groups. And then the last goal is to identify stakeholders' positions and values. So how do they think we should address an issue, and what are some other values that they have? For right now, it's going to be a guess. This is an activity. But in your projects, you're going to want to go out and actually talk to these people. And we're going to work on some of those tools. I think in this program, we emphasize something called empathy interviews as a part of the need finding process, the process of finding community needs. But we can't do that in this activity. So don't worry about it today, but as you work on your projects, think about talking to your community and finding out who your stakeholders are. Okay, so let's get into this example. Yuki, please, thank you. This was my fake microphone. It makes me feel more official. I use my spoon. Just kidding. Okay. So our example issue or project that we're working on is there is an international health NGO, non-government organization, designing a sexual health curriculum for local schools in accordance with the Ministry of Education's national curriculum. This might sound a little familiar to one of our teams. Wink. While some community members believe a good sexual health curriculum improves public health, others believe it is immoral to discuss such a sensitive topic with children. So it's inappropriate for children to have a sexual health education. Recently, a school with an established or existing relationship to the NGO shared that a group of parents confronted school leaders with negative comments about the sexual health curriculum. Okay. That is our example scenario, our example case. Bolded, you will see some stakeholders, right? I have, Leslie, can you copy the emojis back into the chat for me? Just so I can have a laugh. Please and thank you. Okay, so our stakeholders. Can anybody either type in the chat or say out loud to me a stakeholder on the map, so I know you're paying attention? Thank you, Leslie. You're the best. Anyone? School leaders, Yuki, I love you. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Potato.
In the bold ones, I guess, the NGO itself, Ministry of Education,
Yes.
parents, school leaders, and I also see children's and the community members could be a part of it.
Right. Great, Julia. You're already ahead of me. So there are some people, some groups of people in this scenario who aren't bolded, right? Those might be missing stakeholders we didn't think of, like children. Do you guys think children should have a say in what they learn in school? Maybe not. That's up to you. We might not all agree. I think yes. Okay, cool. Yeah. Let's move on to the next thing. So, are there any, besides children and community members, are there any other stakeholders, any other groups of people that you think might be interested in whether or not sexual health is taught in schools? Health staff from the health department. Excellent praise. Yeah, doctors, public health professionals might be very interested in whether or not this is taught. Right? Activists, yeah. Great point, Style. Okay, those are great examples. So the more time we spend thinking about it, the more stakeholders we might think of. We might remember, oh, there's another group of people that's interested in this problem that maybe we didn't think about before. That's something to keep in mind for your own projects, right? As you work on your project, you might realize another group of people that you hadn't even thought of before cares about what you're doing, right? So it's good to think about talking to them and understanding their needs. Aylin, that's a great example. Sexual health companies or feminine hygiene companies. That's a great example, right? Or like reproductive healthcare companies. I think that's also what you're saying, right? Companies that send out like birth control or condoms or STI medications for free. Absolutely. So that's even private business holders. We could keep going like this for a long time, right? Yeah, great example. Amazing. Okay. You guys are so great. So we're going to go into our small groups now. Do you guys feel ready? Can I get like a thumbs up or a thumbs sideways? Maybe you're not so ready. Or a potato in the chat if you're ready. I love potato in the chat. This is my favorite. Yes. Okay. Yuki, do we need time to reset the groups? Do you need me to like tell a joke or something?
No, but I think it would be helpful to explain this a little bit.
Oh, okay. Yeah, let's do that. Let's take a look.
Sorry.
No,
My
you're good.
computer
So
is acting weird.
yeah, each room is going to have a slide. Okay, so one room is going to be the parents. Okay, you're going to pretend that in this case, you are the parents. At the top of the slide, you'll see that we've given you a suggestion of what your opinion is, right? You parents do not support the implementation of the sexual health curriculum. You believe teaching sexual health to youth is inappropriate and oversteps boundaries between teaching and parenting, okay? This top part is going to be different for each stakeholder. So the NGO is going to have a different opinion, right? You have the stakeholder map that we worked on earlier. You can click on or have the fellow in your room click on the picture. Let's have the fellows do that just because I know some people's internet is maybe more unstable or we've got folks on phones. So fellows, if you're willing to click on that photo and place it where you think it should go. I think if you needed to, you could probably copy and paste it, right, Yuki, if people disagree on where it should go. That is also an option. So once you do that, you can discuss amongst your group where you think your stakeholder is in terms of high power, low power, high interest, low interest. And then you can talk about and write notes like Carrie did earlier about how you think specifically your stakeholder is going to respond to that question. And then we'll talk about it in the group. Okay. Tunyat nodded. So I think that means we're good. We're good to go. Okay.
I'll also add, so there's 4 rooms. So this will be room 1. This will be room 2, room 3, room 4. So you can just match with whatever breakout room you're in. Okay.
Yes. Thank you, Yuki.
Right. I'm going to open all the rooms. See you soon.
Okay.
Yep.
Style and Julia, do you want to tell us about your slide?
Sure, I'd love to.
Yeah.
My group nominated me. You speak. So, so as Ministry of Education, we thought we are in the position of not very interested in the development of curriculum by schools. We think it's the schools can figure it out on development. But as Ministry of Education, we believe we stand on high power position to that we are responsible to a bunch of things that we list down here in the response. So we think like as Ministry of Education will be able to involve in four main areas. First, we need to get the data and research on how this issue is important and how schools should prioritize working on the curriculum to promote the sexual health. And also would be wonderful if Ministry of Education could be able to see whether these issues or this work is already discussed with related stakeholders like parents and community leaders. Are they already agree on this? Is this a discussed issue that we need to look at on? And third, to review the curriculum which is created by the school and which public health experts, sexual health expert, do they involve in it or not, and how the curriculum is relevant to all ages of students and different religious and ethnic groups.
Mhm.
So all in all, Ministry of Education will look upon the inclusiveness, how the curriculum is considered, and how it was discussed with experts on the subject matter.
Mhm.
So we are not very interested in helping, but we'll be judging and reviewing and helping and making decision whether this is relevant or not for schools.
Mhm.
So that's it.
Great. Thank you so much, Julia. Really quickly, before we move on, was anything about this challenging to you, or did anything about this surprise you? Can you share kind of like your general impression about the activity?
Can I go quickly before everyone starts?
No,
One
you go.
challenges as Ministry of Education, I think it's a bit confusing to not have the information on whether, as Ministry of Education, do we have decision-making power on giving approval, or I don't know, stopping them doing this curriculum and teaching them. So it is I think it is important to have the correct information so that we can make the decision on deciding their influence of each and every key stakeholders and put them on the right place. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great point. We talked a little bit when we were making this activity about, by we, I really mean I talked to myself and then said it to Yuki. But we talked about, like whose Ministry of Education is this, right? Like the US Department of Education is going to operate, it's definitely going to be low interest, high power, right? Or like low interest, medium power. What does the Ministry of Education in Myanmar look like? Those are very different questions to think about. Or the Ministry of Education in somewhere like Japan, that's going to operate really differently, right? So we didn't help you by not telling you whose Ministry of Education it was, but great job. For the sake of time, what I would like to do is I will fit the text to everyone's slide, so it's all on the same slide. I would love to share these in the chat. They look really cool, and maybe we can in our group text, sorry, in Signal, and maybe we can interact with them, throughout the week. We can say like, wow, that's really cool. I personally think group 2 did a really great job. I was in that room though. I'm a little biased, just kidding. You all did great. But I would love to see everyone else's thoughts, but we don't have time today. So I hope you had fun. Did you guys have fun? A little bit. Style looks tired. So maybe we'll move on to the next steps. Thank y'all so much for participating in this new activity. I really appreciate it. It was a bit of a risk on our side, but I really appreciate you trusting us and trying this activity. Thanks. Okay, Yuki.
All right. Carrie and Hannah, you both did such a wonderful job designing our session for today. So big thank you to both of you. All right. And I apologize again for sharing the wrong Google slide with group 3. So I copied it over to the correct Google slide now, so it should all be together. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen and talk a little bit about our assignments for this coming week. And it is all about communicating your vision. Okay, so we have a team assignment, an individual assignment, and then your weekly reflection. The first team assignment is called Theory of Change. Has anyone ever heard of a theory of change? Anybody? Nobody?
Have heard of it? Never really
You've heard of
learned.
it? Okay, so
Yep.
Julie is going to be like Doepu's go-to person. It's totally okay if you haven't heard of it. We have a little video here to explain what is a theory of change, but very quickly, it's basically a visualization, so like a picture, but it can include words, and its purpose is to give you a very quick understanding of the big idea of your team, your project. So if you looked at the theory of change for 30 seconds, for 1 minute, you would have a quick understanding of what Better Tomorrow does for or what Doatu does. And then you can get really excited about the organization and want to support them and want to give them money, things like that. So there is a video here for you to watch. There's some more resources to help improve your theory of change. There's some templates here if those are helpful, but it can really take any shape that you want. I know we have a lot of creatives in this group. If you look actually from last year, you can see it can take a lot of different forms, and that's great, okay? The second assignment, this is an individual assignment. So each person should come prepared next week to give something called a quick pitch. So you might have heard of something called an elevator pitch. It's the same idea. Basically, it's very similar to the theory of change, except the theory of change is visual and the quick pitch is oral, it's verbal, right? So if someone were to catch you in an elevator or stop you at a conference, and you had a very short amount of time to tell them about yourself and about your project, what would you tell them to get them really excited and want to give you money and want to volunteer for your organization for free, right? So again, there's a video for you to watch to kind of learn about what a quick pitch is. There's some resources here, but there's a lot of resources online. So if you want some practice, there's a lot of examples for you to pull from. And so next week, we'll put you into small groups so that you can practice giving a quick pitch and give each other feedback. This is something, it's really important for every single person to prepare their own personal quick pitch, right? Sometimes we think like, oh, there's one person in our group, they're the spokesperson. No, we all need to be able to really confidently represent our team, because at any time we could be asked to share about our organizations. Okay, and of course, lastly, we have our weekly reflection. So any questions about the assignments for this week? Feel good? Okay, well, I'm going to pass it to Alexis to talk about workshop time.
Hi, friends. So we're gonna have some workshop time, and this is gonna be more similar to like the workshop we did the first week where you had options and you could go into different rooms.
Sharing if there's anything that happened in the room. Does anybody want to share anything?
Okay, I think I will share. So like, I was in the, networking room. I don't see anyone in my room. So I wait about 3 minutes and then I join to the support space room and then we are talking. I'm interviewing like, US culture to this. And then like, Prince also came, after like, I think like 10 minutes later, Prince came join us and then we keep, talking
Yeah, and then
about,
she was like, you know what, I
American
have some questions too. And I was like, okay.
culture.
It was very fun.
Also like that, luckily, we also have like Chewy also came and joined with us, and we keep talking about American culture. Keep interviewing about American culture. Yeah,
It was fun.
it
It
was
was a
nice.
very E for Eco time too. Bonding.
Game
The
room was
game
better
room sounds like it
tomorrow.
was really exciting.
Aylin and I had a really good new room idea where we'll read people's tarot cards.
Because we are totally into reading tarots and the star signs. So we discussed a lot about that.
We
It
talk
was
about
really
how
fun.
Julia's a Leo.
I really love that idea.
Aylin said Julia's a Leo, and I said yes, Julia is a Leo, and it was very fun.
Julia is a Leo.
Oh my gosh. I was there in the room with you.
Yeah, actually, like we are waiting for you, and then I said, okay, maybe you are in the other room.
I was having fun conversations with you.
Because we are sharing that our Dota 2 team has all the members are fire signs.
I know. We are on fire. I mean, we have two
We
Aries
are on
and I'm a
fire.
Leo. And we're like, Yuki has something to say,
We
I
are
guess.
on fire.
I wanted to share really quickly. So Julie and I had a great conversation in our office hours room. And one thing that came up, which I wanted to share with everybody, is that it is a lot of work. And sometimes it can feel really stressful to try to get everything done. Just saying, like, we like start working on Monday and we have all these meetings, and then we hit submit on Friday and we feel relief, but then in one day we have to start the process all over. So I really want to stress that, like, when you submit things, it does not have to be perfect, right? When you're like going through this process, we're giving you feedback so you can improve things. If you are feeling really stressed, one suggestion that I gave to Julia was just set a timer, right? When you're working with your group or you're working individually, set a timer for whatever, 30 minutes, 1 hour. And whatever you complete in that time, you're going to submit. It doesn't have to be perfect, okay? Because the expectation is that you spend 3 hours total per week, right? So that's with your team meetings, that's reading the content on the Launchpad, that's submitting your individual reflections, all of those things together. If you find that you're spending way more time, I think you need to adjust, right? You need to create a different structure so that this project is sustainable for you, right? So that you can keep going at a certain pace throughout the program. You don't get tired, you don't get angry, you don't get stressed out, right? You can continue. And this is a joyful experience, not a stressful one, right? That's all I wanted to share. But if anybody else has something you want to share, I'll pass.
Did anybody doodle anything today?
In the breakdown rooms, we play the games. It was very fun. The game is Scribble. So yeah, like Leslie said, the breakdown room turn into our team better tomorrow because all of our team members are there, and that's why our fellow as well. So it turns to better tomorrow team, and we had a great time. Leslie has a great drawing skill.
Yeah, she is the best.
No, I had to draw a heart, guys.
All right.
Okay, well, it looks like we are at the end of our time. Oh no, Tumyak came in third for his own game. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing everyone again next week. Keep in mind, don't overstress, submit what you can, and don't worry about it being perfect. And if our fellows can stay on, we'll do a quick debrief. But everyone else, we look forward to seeing you next week. Okay, have a great day.
Bye, everyone. Take care. Bye.
Bye, everyone. Have
Have
a
a great
lovely
day,
weekend.
everyone.
Love you. Bye.